talk about Jason Verrett. He's out for the year. Torn ACL. It's the second time he's torn his ACL. I don't know if he'll ever play again. Anyway, that's not really the concern for Niner fans right now. It's where they stand right now. We already knew this was their weakest position, and he was one of their most important players. Let's ask it this way. Is this like the Nick Bosa injury last year?
It's as close as it gets. I think Fred Warner or Trent Williams would be like the Nick Bosa, or Nick Bosa himself would be like that injury last year. But I think this one's real close because they don't have depth at the cornerback position. I think we saw how much their depth got exposed when Dante Johnson and Ambry Thomas made their brief cameos yesterday. They don't have depth at the cornerback position, and he wasn't just a starter at the cornerback position. He was the one guy that meant starting a guy like Emmanuel Mosley, who hasn't started a lot but could be an okay starter in the NFL, or Diamador Lenore. When you start those guys on the other side of Jason Verrett, you have a viable cornerback tandem. When you start them together, it becomes a little bit nerve-wracking. But Jason Verrett, to me, was like a top 12, 10 corner in the league. He played that well last year. I think that a lot of their defensive growth last year with Robert Saleh, obviously, it had to do with the evolution of their defense, playing a lot more split safety coverage and stuff. But I thought that their ability to be able to guard receivers in man-to-man coverage, especially very good ones with Jason Verrett, was really what made the big difference for them last year. I mean, the second game against DeAndre Hopkins, the biggest difference between the first game and the second game was that they got physical with DeAndre Hopkins. Obviously, both one was in Santa Clara. The second game in Arizona, I'm talking about. The one they won, they beat the Cardinals and basically destroyed their playoff hopes. The big difference was that they were physical with DeAndre Hopkins. Well, you can't press DeAndre Hopkins if you're trying to guard him with Emmanuel Mosley or
no, we saw what Robert Saleh did in week 1 when Mosley was the guy on him. He played 15
they
yards
gave him
off
free access.
Yes.
They gave him free access. And they just said, you take what you want. Don't beat us over the top. The second game, they didn't have as much fear because they had Jason Verrett, a guy that they could have confidence in, and he was pressing and got physical with DeAndre Hopkins, and that's really what I thought was one of the biggest factors in them winning that football game. Obviously, there were a couple other things they did.
Absolutely. They gave up 12 points in that game.
Being able to be physical with DeAndre Hopkins was a huge thing for them. So from that standpoint, I do think, especially when you look at the receiving talent in this division and how explosive the offenses are in this division and their ability to throw the ball down the field and all of that, I think they'll miss it. Now, I do think they won't miss it in every game in the sense that the Niners aren't going to change. Like, let's say the Niners were, if you look at their roster, you want to say they're a 12-5 team this year. By losing Jason Verrett, I don't think this makes them a 6-10, 6-11 team. I think they can still win 10 games without Jason Verrett, relying on their pass rush and just dropping 7, playing zone, all of those kinds of things, especially if guys like Fred Warner and Jimmy Ward and Nick Bosa stay healthy throughout the season. But I do think you will get to a point, and it becomes in the playoffs when you're playing really good quarterbacks and really good receivers, where you need Jason Verrett. You need that level corner to be able to guard. So I think where he hurts them is if –
I just want to say, I feel you. I agree with you, but all I would say is let's pump the brake. Let's pump the brakes on. Let me try English for a second. Let's pump the brakes on the playoff talk for a minute. Nothing against the Niners, but what I'm seeing right now is a team that has the worst quarterback in their division and just lost their best corner, and they're going to have a tough time matching up with their 3 opponents in their division. They're going to have a very tough time.
I agree. Yeah. But I more so was just making the point to say I think Jason Verrett really just affects the ceiling of this team.
No question.
I think there's only so far they can go without having a legitimate number 1 corner. And I think the biggest issue, it's not just the fact that they lost Jason Verrett. It's that they don't have depth behind Jason Verrett.
No,
Dante Johnson is a special teamer. And I don't know. I know people always meme on him, but Dante Johnson was a 5th or 6th round pick by this team. The fact that he's lasted in the NFL this long, been a special teamer, all of that, it's a really good thing. He's made a hell of a career for himself. Ambry Thomas does not look ready to play football in 2021.
Nope.
I mean, that I think that's really the point. He might be really good down the road, but it's not ideal for him to be playing in 2021. Diamador Lenore looks good, but Diamador Lenore is your number one corner. To me, is scary, especially when you considering. I know Lenore had a fantastic game yesterday against the Lions, but who's on that Lions receiving corps? Tyrell Williams, Armand St. Brown. That to me, it becomes a little more scary. I mean, next week you have Devonta Smith and Jalen Reagor, who both look good. Of course, Falcons don't have corners, but then you get Devontae Adams
Week
in
3.
week 3. Week 4, you get DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. Week 5, you get DeAndre Hopkins, AJ Green, Christian Kirk,
Rondale
Rondale
Moore.
Moore. It becomes tougher, and you're not going to guard these people, with just your corners and all of that. You're going to obviously play zone, and you're going to get help from your safeties and all of that. But just in general, I think there's a tougher ask on this defense. And I think it's a huge loss because, again, I thought he was one of the top 10 to 12 corners in the NFL.
Yeah, no question. They can win 10 games without him. I'm not sure where they stand in the division without him, because it'd be one thing if Trey Lance had taken over the job by now and the offense was really explosive. They did score 41 points, but I still look at them as being kind of a ball control offense with Jimmy Garoppolo. And if they're giving up big plays in the passing game without Jason Verrett, that's a problem when they play any team in the NFC West. I'm not saying they will, but they've been playing all offseason to play man coverage, and now they're going to pivot and be good at zone. I don't know. We'll have to see. If they get a good pass rush, that'll make everyone's job a lot easier.
And I mean, in structure, right? We're going to talk about it a bit more. In structure, DeMeco Ryans' defense is similar to Robert Saleh. They play the same front, and their base defense is essentially playing the old Seattle scheme cover 3 with a couple little variations. The big difference was Saleh became really a split safety coverage guy last year. They played quarters, they played 2-man, they played cover 6. That's what they really did. That was what the 49ers defense was last year from this same front. Yesterday, it looked like DeMeco Ryans from this same front was playing single high almost exclusively the entire game. And especially,
you can understand why. It's like, well, they're going to run on me. I want 8 in the box, I guess. I would hate to think he would do that against any team that could throw.
Yeah.
But I noticed that from the press box. I was like, look at these 8-man fronts.
You don't want to be playing aggressive press man-to-man coverage if you don't have the corners to do it. You can't be doing that. It's too risky.
You want split safeties, and you want both guys getting help.
Exactly.
Pretty simple.